Happy Palm Sunday if it applies to you. Sundays in Bensonhurst, holiday traditions. Here's a quick story. I was type of guy that around the holiday season, holidays meaning um, Easter, Palm Sunday, when you needed Italian pastries and cookies, I always made sure that I kind of was seeing a girl that worked in that bakery because in Brooklyn, 5 a.m., 6 a.m., the line started for all Italian pastries and all that. So there was this place, Cuccio's, which was on Avenue X. And good old Anne Marie used to hook me up. But this one time, my mother wanted something that only Angelo's from 25th Avenue and 86th Street made. So what I did was I went to Angelo's, and sure enough, it's good to have a backup bakery and a backup girl. So I went there a couple of times, and there were a couple of holidays that I actually went to both bakeries because the girl would ask, "Oh, you coming in?" One holiday, I went to Cuccio's, and the girl from Angelo's was working alongside Anne Marie. Guess who started going to Pathmark for Edmonds after that?
Vinny is a man.
Vinny is the man, no pronouns on this show. How you doing, everybody? Sunday, 9/21. Remember holidays back when you were younger, how different they were than when you became one of the older people at the table? Boy, do I remember. And I seem to remember always going out after the holiday, whether it be a club or a bar or wherever, just was always running out. Couldn't wait to get out. And now you can't wait to get home. It, when you couldn't wait to go out back then, usually you hoped there was a bet involved. Now there is a bet involved for your nap. But how are you, everybody? I hope you're all doing well. Like I said, if it applies, happy Palm Sunday to you all. Next weekend, Sunday is Easter, very high holy day, and good food and pastries. Back in Bensonhurst, there were quite a few Italians roaming around the neighborhood, and I was one of them. And I mean, the stories you would hear after a holiday from your friends, especially if you were going out, back then, no cell phones, no beepers in the 70s. And I'd get a call, "You coming out?" Or I'd make a call. "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah." "Oh, what did Uncle Joe do?" And Ginny's teeth came out in the soup. Just all these stories. And you wish that they were false, but they weren't. And you, as a teenager, and I'm talking about I was a teen in the 70s, we always waited for the opportune time to run out. Because I remember my house, and usually my mother didn't entertain. I was always at my grandparents' house, my father's mother and father. But there was always a moment when you'd say, like, "I could probably get out like at 9:30. I'll wait." That's when the lull comes and grandpa goes inside and lays down, and grandma might be arguing with my father. Who knows? Well, you planned it. It was like a military attack where you planned exactly the right moment. Oh, listen, I gotta go. And if they're arguing, you're good. In fact, they probably don't want you there. So it's kind of, you could throw the onus on them that you chased me away. So I didn't even want to go out. I had to because you made me leave the table. Well, that stuff happened a lot. When you become an adult in your 20s, then it's different. Now, let me say hello to all my people here. Emanuele, how are you? Spatato, Kefa, Mitch, how are you? The times they are a changing. You got that right. G, how are you? DJ Reed, how are you? Reed, I hope you're doing well. It's good to see you back in here. I hadn't seen you in a while. I was a little worried about you, but I saw you were watching the shorts, and I figured you just got sick of me. But which I don't blame you. But thanks for coming back. Um, it's a very, very interesting phenomena, the Italian condition. Much different than any other peoples. I'll tell you why. Because the Italian grandmother feels that if you don't go in the bathroom half puking, she didn't do her job. Now, I always thought the Jewish grandmothers, which were Italian light, it's kind of like the Jews can run the breakfast buffet, but after that, I'd rather have Italian food. So I've gone to Passover. I've gone because I had some friends who were Jewish, and any home that runs on food, right, is generally a home, I know, on love and all this shit, but no, really, I'm being serious. It's kind of crazy. Uh, Food is such a warm and comforting phenomena. It really is. Look, comfort food, right? Isn't a warm bath more comfortable than eating, I don't know, chocolate mousse? Probably not. I'm not going to take a comfort bath, when someone hurts me or if your girlfriend breaks up with you, if you're this or that or the other thing. Food is such a very important part of our lives. First of all, to sustain life, you need food, but I would argue you probably need water more. But gefilte fish now, although I do like some food that Gentiles would say, "Oh, stuffed derma." I like that. Don't even know to this day, don't know what it is. I have no idea, but it's covered in gravy. It's not too bad, but it has skin around it, which is it's a little suspect. But I'm not sure I eat it. It's kind of like breadcrumbs with sauce, but God knows what those breadcrumbs are. It's probably something shredded that I don't want to know about. Kasha are good. It's like bow ties that they stole from the Italians and just threw some grain on it. That's ours. We claim that, you know. Um, Matzo ball soup. You can't go wrong with matzo ball soup. Matzo ball soup, if you have pneumonia, they're pouring it down your throat. If you skin your knee, you can rub the matzo ball over it. They'll swear it'll help. It's kind of like, Windex for a Greek, spray Windex on it. So it's really unbelievable. But food continually creeps up in your life when you're young because eat up, eat up, eat up. Or did you eat something? Put a dish in front of me. I just ate. Oh, when? You fed me 10 minutes ago. Like constant food. Constant food. And the funny thing is, my father hated Italian food. Hated it. He gave me the story that when he was young, I don't know if he had chicken parmesan. Maybe I'm originating the story and making it sound better, but Either that or pasta, but he fell on the steps, hit his stomach, vomited, and never ate Italian food again. I don't know if that's true, but I've told the story so much it sounds true, and I think it is actually. Um, I was never a red sauce guy. My father was spoiled. Like my mother would have to make steak for lunch. Like my father would never have a McDonald's burger or anything like that. God forbid. Um, I was a meat and potatoes guy. No eggplant roll. I love eggplant rollatini. I love spadini alla romana. Um, there is so much, and I was the token goy when I used to go to Passovers and stuff and Rosh Hashanah and all that stuff. I was the token goy. But if you're Italian, you have a history of food, so you can go into the Jewish household and you know the lay of the land. It's like me bringing you to a buffet that has 1,000 different things. So the second time you go, you kind of know the lay of the land. No, the sushi's the land. The sushi's over there. No, that's back there. Well, if you're from an Italian house, you kind of know how to work the Jewish grandmother in a way where you can get something. Are you kidding me, Mitch? Cow intestines. Oh, thanks, Mitch. I went 64 years without knowing what it is, and Rain Man ruins it for me. So I'll tell you something. There goes stuffed Dharma, but the Italian traditions were always a lot of people in your house, right? And Easter's a big one. Like God has a lot to do with that. And I my family never said, let's say grace. In fact, I think I went once. I was dating this Italian girl, and it was my turn. You want to say grace? No, no, no. Yeah, yeah. All right. Uh, in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom. Let it be. I start bopping. They bought it, but you know what I mean. You just when in Rome. So living in Bensonhurst, if you called, remember, called for your friend, yeah, I'll call for you tomorrow. Yeah, it's not a sit down. You're not calling them in to whack them. Yeah, I'll call for you. You'd ring the bell. Rob, you coming out? Yeah, 5 minutes. That was the kind of thing. But sometimes, Haley, sometimes you would go and ring the doorbell. Now, I remember in the 70s, you never needed an invitation. Your next door neighbor would just knock on the door, ring the bell. Hey, come in, like you invited them. Did you invite them? No, but you always had an Entenmann's cake on hand, right? There was always some food. Are you hungry? I just told you I got back from a wedding. You're hungry. Dessert was always aunts would come over, uncles would come over, right? And you always had the television going, and they were always there. It was always that type of world that you lived in, and you became very accustomed to family traditions because you'd know what the holidays had in store. I remember once, hey Sarah, I remember once my mother for Easter, my sister looked like she was getting married. She had a bonnet. She looked like Twiggy. You would think she was going to knight someone. My sister, she had all this gingham or whatever you call it. I had this sweater on and a Hugapoo shirt, and I looked like an idiot. I'm going to grandma's, Ma. We're sitting at that table. Then you. If I say, can I go out and play, lady, you're going to tell me no like you always do. So what am I dressed for? And that was it. And I always remember my grandmother's house. Now, Thanksgiving was great. And my late cousin, Michael, was my hero from the time I was about 9, because the way my grandmother's house was situated, the kitchen table looked into the dining room table, looked into the living room, but you could see the back of the big cabinet style TV. Michael was 18, 19. Oh, I am, Sarah. It's fuel. So, and Michael, dinner's on. No shit. He's 4 feet away from me. Grandma, he looked up. You don't think he sees you holding a turkey? I'll be there in 5 minutes. Michael, dinner's on. All right, 5 minutes. All right, I'll eat in front of the TV. No, you're not. I don't remember what happened from there, but I do remember him saying, F this, and stormed out of the house. He was my hero. So I didn't even like football. Can I? No, I didn't try it. But yes, he was a Yankee fan. He took me to my first baseball game. It was a Yankee game. Joe Pepitone was his favorite player. And in fact, at his wedding, his wife was killed in a terrible car accident in 1982 on the Gowanus. A truck hit the car and decapitated her. And there was a picture, I don't know, it wasn't the front page, but one of the pages of the Daily News or Post where he's like bewildered, standing in the middle of the street. And they said, terrible, terrible accident. And one of the, Phil Pepe was friends with him. I don't know how, but he was at the wedding, the sports writer or something. I remember I went to that wedding. He was only married about a year. The wedding was like in 83, 81 maybe, and she died in 82 or 83. Celeste, beautiful woman. I remember. I was, when you're a teen, you notice that shit. Doesn't matter if they're family. And yeah, and I miss him. He passed a few years ago, and he was great. But all these Italian traditions came from Bensonhurst. And on Easter Sunday, you could walk by, and there was a social club like every block or two. I'm not exaggerating. Where I lived, closed. It was family time. And then people started trickling out toward the later evening, 8 o'clock. I remember Thanksgiving, Shout would open about 11. And I remember working Shout one night after Thanksgiving. But I like to go out. And the bars were okay back then. Young people back then would adhere to the traditions in the home. Absolutely. But they also would adhere to their own agenda, nightlife. And nowadays, you see, back then you couldn't stand spending 8 hours in the house with the family. Now it's kind of like you're playing Russian roulette. I wonder who's going to be at the table next year. You want to take taking odds? Who's not going to be here? Who's going to die? Because that's how old you are. But it was interesting. It was interesting. I always loved it as a kid. You love the holidays as a kid if you're too young to go out after the holiday. You know what I mean? Like if you don't have to beg your family because it's just a given, you're going home with them. You're 9 years old, 11 years old, 12. You're going home. So you can really let yourself go during that holiday because you're not, damn it, it's 7. We didn't even eat yet. You're not doing that. As you get older, you want to be with your family. Sure, you want the meal, right? But you also want to go out. I remember going out quite often. Now, I remember with Shout or Captain Walters or Wheelers, I got to work tonight. On Thanksgiving, yeah, they're open. The boss is a prick, what can I tell you? Most of the time I wasn't, but I do remember this one time I was. And at Shout. And it was cool. It was cool. Because you get the crowd that it was like they were sentenced to, 3 months strict duty. if it was the young girl, she helped her mother cook the night before. She might not have been out the night before. She's all day. But she wasn't too tired to get dolled up and come out, for some release. And I was the lever. And it was interesting because you'd have a lot of fun, and you would swear people were tired, but they would, I don't know. Well, back then, there was something that cocaine that woke you up a bit. But other than that, you could really get into the flow of being with your friends because you appreciated them even more so because you're with your family for 10 hours. It was like, what are you looking at me for? You haven't spoken. Ah, come here, forget about it. Bygones be gone. Come here, you were so happy to see someone other than Aunt Mary that you're kind of like, it was a reset. And you have to do yourself a favor. You have to reset after holidays. Now, I always thought that the greatest time to start dating a girl around October, November. It's exciting. You're not fighting. If you, I met one a week before Thanksgiving, so it was accelerated. But you're not sure. She might invite you over for. She's not going to invite you over for Thanksgiving. I ended up because I'm such a bargain. But usually you're going to maybe go there for dessert or something because the family wants to meet you. And you're together 4 weeks, 5 weeks. What kind of Christmas gift do you buy? If she starts mentioning what do you do New Year's Eve, it's probably because she's not breaking up with you because she just wouldn't bring it up and she'd pray you didn't. So that's an interesting. It's romantic, You can go to the Christmas lights all over the place. Everything is, exacerbated, and you feel good about it. Uh, I would much rather meet someone early winter than early spring. Too many commitments early spring. Beaches, barbecue, fuck that. I'll come to your house for dinner on Sunday and we'll celebrate Christmas and we'll see where it goes. But I will tell you, Gina, similar traditions from Newark and Belleville and New Jersey, and I'm sure from other places as well. Different locations, different details, similar theme. Don't you think? I do think. Yes. I think there's reasoning behind that because people like me that talk about it. No, I'm kidding. Because good things, look, there wasn't cable TV in the 60s, right? 8-year-olds generally didn't talk on the phone to other 8-year-olds out of state. Why did everyone have a lemonade stand? You didn't see that on TV usually. Why did it seem like every kid had a lemonade stand? Sometimes it's just the thing to do. Things happen when you're young, right? Most kids at a young age follow traditional norms that come not out of seeing it, just rite of passage, right? You go to high school, you get your heart broken the first time. Maybe you break someone's heart the first time. Um, it's just there's a rite of passage where it seems like people aren't all that dissimilar. Now, imagine if you're in a neighborhood that really concentrates on food, family, and loyalty. Loyalty's family, right? Uh, I will tell you something, and I'm saying this off the cuff here because I don't mean to insult anyone. People that are deemed white trash, which I don't even know because there is trash in every color, every form. Those are some of the most loyal families. Now, don't get me wrong. They'll go in the wallet and rob from each other. But God help if someone else tries to rob you. I can rob you. I can beat the shit out of you and I can hit you with a beer bottle. But if he tries to do it, very loyal. Well, like G said, Belleville, Italian households tend to be very, very in tune with the culture. I remember Michael's father, my uncle Mike. Uh, we went over there, not a lot, but I remember going over there, and he had an Ampex reel to reel. I mean, it probably just ended now from 1973. The last song probably came on 10 minutes ago if they kept it on. Unbelievable. You could fit 3,000 songs on that thing. And he had Al Martino and Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and, Squeeze. Not kidding. And it was incredible. And even if you don't love that music, it soaks into you because you've heard it as a young person. You never say, "Can you turn that off and put on the Beatles?" Because first of all, you get the shit kicked out of you. But other than that, because that's what everyone listened to. That Frank Sinatra. Saturday nights with Frank. They used to have it on one of the radio stations, right? A lot of households probably had that on. If it works, don't book it. And that's what happened. Jimmy Roselli. Thank you, Emmanuel. Jimmy Roselli. I don't know if you wanted to go a little crazy, Trini Lopez, if you're not prejudiced in the house. But I just remember feeling so part of something magical. Like Christmas night, when you know damn well there's no Santa. I hope I didn't ruin it for anyone. But yet, God, if you see a movie with Santa and you're walking by the television and you'll just stop for a second. Santa's doing one of three things: throwing out milk, eating a cookie, or going on a sleigh. But you're going to stop and see what he's doing, because unless it's a Billy Joe Thornton movie or Billy Bob Thornton, he's not robbing a house or raping someone. So you look at that, it brings back childhood. Why do you think we love Christmas so much at my age? Jerry Vale. Because it brings you back to an innocent time. I love Christmas to no end. I'll give you a secret. I have a chest, but that wasn't the secret. My Colby, right? I always, for the last 7-8 years, I always shook his paw near the Christmas tree, took a picture with him, "Hey, Rock," and said, "Well, we're going to make a deal. You're going to be here next year, next Christmas." This Christmas, I said, "I'm not going to hold you to it," because I knew he was 17. "I'm not going to hold you to it. And he took it seriously. He died. But you know what I mean. It's magical Christmas. I love Christmas. Now, I really don't know how I'm going to take Christmas when it comes about 2026. I'm hoping, okay. Yeah, gee, I know. It's like an Oprah Winfrey special. Everybody's getting the rope out now and measuring themselves. I'm sorry. But I used to do that. And traditions like Christmas bring me back to a time. Now, I had a younger sister, and it's her anniversary of passing today. So, to my dear sister Adeline, who passed at 39, send me some lotto numbers. I asked you 13 years ago. I was older, but yet, through her eyes, Santa stayed alive a lot longer than he would have, because it was so great. It brings you back to your feeling when you see a kid happy. And I'll tell you what happens for me right after Halloween. First week of November, when it starts getting a little cold out and they start decorating the streets with lights and stuff. Thank you, G. and you start getting bombarded with Christmas commercials. That's when it really gets me to like, oh, we're getting there. And my son, who I swear, he's probably Santa Claus, and I just never caught him changing into the costume because my son likes Christmas more than Santa likes Christmas, and he got me into it. He got me into it. I was always into it, but he the Hallmark Christmas movies and just the overall chalky, stuff like that, and I really love it. But I remember in Bensonhurst, everything. Put it this way: Bensonhurst was the 1980s of communities. Everything was in your. Remember the 80s, right? Everything was in your face. Everything was day glow colors. Everything was, magnified 20 times. That's what Bensonhurst was. You hear about Italian stereotypes. Well, the patent leather shoes, the 4-year-old had patent leather shoes on and kissing people, not even couldn't even talk, at the corner. Guys, you thought Christmas was every night. Hey, oh, every night you thought, hey, oh, you thought Christmas was around. Santa was around. It was incredible. And we really took it seriously. I mean, oh, Gina, he's incredible. Incredible. Thank God he has his mother's genes, but incredible. Wonderful kid. Um, but I believe some good and bad, but you cannot take Brooklyn Bensonhurst out of the boy. You can't do it. You could try all you want. And the boy might pretend because he wants to be white bread for his Connecticut girlfriend. But you can't. Because as soon as he sees someone from the old days, hey, oh, what's going on, man? Oh, sorry. I remember when I first met my wife at the time, which wasn't my wife, because that'd be a pretty good trick if you met someone and you were married before you actually met them. Although it was the 80s, anything couldn't understand how guys from Brooklyn, before bro hugs, kissed each other on the cheek. 22-year-old guys kissing each other on the cheek. Her brother would go to the father, Pop, she did not come from that world. And she was in Queens. It's not like she lived on Mars or Iowa, but she just didn't come from that world. And that was a respect thing. Because like I said, a lot of social clubs, they know you since you're little. So you usually, out of respect, kiss the guy. So you grew up with that. I'm not sure, Emmanuel. I'm not goofing on Connecticut. Connecticut's very nice. I dated a girl from Connecticut. She was from Devlin, the first exit. I think it's Devlin Street or something. I went on a couple. It was too far. You better be made of 14 karat gold if I'm paying the toll every week. But then again, I dated a girl from Homedale. Was there. Well, I used to sleep over there 4 nights a week, but the Verrazano Bridge was $1.25. Now you got to leave a sperm sample. It's incredible. I would never. Oh my God. You couldn't date a girl now that lived out of state. What are you, crazy? I needed a double swig for that, thinking about it. And it's been 40 years. But yeah, and the traditions in Brooklyn, if you have friends that are not from Brooklyn and they happen to come see you, they they learn quick. But I had some friends that came over. One was a Jewish kid that I met. I used to go to the Concord singles weekends. His name was Neil, and I'll give you a story. I went to the Concord. I went to the Concord also, but I went to Hedonism with my friend Freddie, my band member, mate, and our friend Johnny Guns, who passed away. And Johnny had his own room. Fred and I roomed together. We met this guy who was there with a friend. The friend locked the guy out of the room because he was getting lucky. So I felt bad. It was like a storm out there. I said, we have like a couch. You come up and, and then breakfast, wake him up or whatever. Thanks, man. So I open the door. Fred is sleeping in the bed. I have another bed. And then the couch near the window. I said, Fred, I have someone coming in, okay? Yeah, all right, man. Figured I picked up a girl. I said, Fred, this is Neil. He went, all right, then. He put the cover over his head. But so Neil, he lived in Queens. So what we did was we swapped numbers and we'd all go out and hang out. They knew I knew Shout. They all had loved Shout at the time. And he came with his friend who locked him out to Brooklyn to meet Fred and I. And he saw this different world. And I had to meet. We went to a social club because I had to make a bet before we went out. And he said, this is what we see on television. Yeah, that's the way Bath Beach, Bensonhurst was. And it could be alarming for someone who isn't a big fan of criminality, but it's just a different way of life. If I remember, Fred owned the Puppet Lounge on Coney Island Avenue. If you were from out of the neighborhood, they would serve you, but I don't remember, but the first thing you would wonder is if they're a cop, if you haven't seen them before. Mind you, we're talking about Bensonhurst here. And why to here? It's like when you're 50 years old and you're looking for a bookmaker. Either your bookmaker died or you screwed him and you can't bet with him anymore, so you're looking for a new one. One of two things. And you wonder. And if you do the right thing, they probably don't come back. You don't threaten them. You don't treat them cold even. But they realize that they feel uneasy, even though nothing happened to them. And there was never a hint of anything happening to them, but they felt ill at ease there. Bensonhurst was known for doing that to you. That couple of mile stretch between Gravesend, Sheepshead Bay, Bath Beach, Bensonhurst, it's like 3 miles, the whole place. Coney Island. You might as well be on Mars. But you better be a Mars inhabitant with a Mars ID card, because they will smell you out and they will not trust you for whatever reason. So you tend to stay in your clique. Now, and everyone knew everybody. I used to go to this club, Fantasy Island, and I went there after a holiday. I forget what it was. But I remember a guy that we knew was talking to a girl. Now, her ex-boyfriend, she hadn't been with him for 6 months, was there and raised an issue about it. Because she's a neighborhood girl, but come on, you have to go out with a girl. You know me. You have to go out with someone I went out with. There's a lot of that. Back in the day, that could get you hurt. You'd be surprised. They'll wait for you in the parking lot. I I haven't seen it real well, I did see it, but I nothing happened. I didn't see the fight, but I know it happened, and then it was diffused. But and whose father is this guy, and whose father is that guy, and who's this? You don't know. Everyone knows someone because everyone is either neighbors with a wise guy. Every social club since you're 8 years old. Everyone knows somebody. And that's why people generally didn't come from out of the neighborhood either, because they don't know anybody there. So they don't know what's off limits. They don't have the playbook. They're playing soccer and they're walking into a baseball game. They don't know the law of the land. And they hear stories that the law of the land can get you hurt. So let me go somewhere where I'm safer. It really wasn't that bad. But then again, I was on Mars. I don't know how I would have felt if I was coming from somewhere else and hearing silly stories. Because stories are abound. But Sundays in Bensonhurst, I remember if we were getting ready for school, usually you came home, you didn't go out. I'm talking about if I was 16, 15, let's say. No, I came home from Sunday dinner maybe by 7. Or if I did go out, it was right outside the apartment building for an hour with my friend. We were talking, so that you weren't doing anything. But it was quite quite a book that you could write on a summer in Bensonhurst in 1977. 86th Street went down about 2-mile stretch. It would take you an hour and a half to get down 86th Street where the elevated train was, where John Travolta was walking when he bought the shirt. That was 86th Street and 20th Avenue. People had beach chairs. And they're honking each other, and people laying on the sidewalk on beach chairs, and cars are double parked. And unbelievable scene. It was right out of Saturday Night Fever. And when that movie came out, that movie for our generation was like this generation's The Hangover. Every guy, and before The Hangover, every girl thought she was a Sex of the City girl. Sarah Jessica Parker. Fabulous apartments. We're going to go out. The 5 of us were all hot shit. That caused girls to act a certain way. The Hangover, every guy thought he was in the Hangover movie when he went to Vegas. And Saturday Night Fever, everyone was John Travolta. Everyone had the big horn. The Italian horn was a very big thing in the 70s. Or a Christ head. The Christ head so big you could actually put a little person on it. Everyone thought they'd go to 2001 Space Odyssey. That was the club on 16th Avenue where they filmed that. Everyone would go there. And of course they said, home of Saturday night. They used it to make money. Lenny's Pizzeria. I was going their way before Saturday Night Fever was filmed on 20th and 86th. Shirt Town was across the street. That's where he ran in and bought a shirt. That was right across from Lenny's. It was called Shirt Town, where he gave a $5 deposit, remember? All of that was over there. The Verrazano Bridge, right there. It became a movie within itself, hanging out in Bensonhurst. You felt that you were in Tony and Tina's wedding. That's the best way I can describe it. Where you are a player in the play called Saturday Night Fever. And the difference is you never saw the movie, so you didn't know how it was going to end up. But it was like going to see a mob movie. You know, you're going to see some murders, some sit downs. Well, yeah, you knew you're probably going to be broke at the end of the night, possibly have a fight, drunk. So that stuff you knew, but you didn't know about anything else until the end of the evening. Yes, I took Mitch to a social club. I had to go see someone in Brooklyn about 5 years ago. Uh, the We don't talk on the phone. I bring him to Avenue U and West 8th Street. You can't just walk in there. They see me, Vinny, hug me, kiss me, hello. I introduced Mitch, and we were with another friend. I go into I said, set them up. I'm going to go in the back and talk to who I have to talk to. Mitch sent the coffee back about 5 different times. It's strong. It's this, it's that. I said, you know what's going to happen? My friend is going to go like this. Now you can't leave. I was so scared. I wasn't, but he kept on sending things back. Mitch is the guy that, I don't want to go to that diner. You're having tea. Bring your own tea bag. It's hot water. Just, But, I joke, really. No, actually, I don't. He is that bad. But I joke because I love him, though. But the 10 Commandments, I see that's where we are different. I watched The Godfather 1 and 2. But it's close, DJ. Yeah, The Godfather's a Christmas movie. Well, it's a Christmas. It's every 3 days I watch The Godfather. But my friend Bobby, who has come on here, we were going to Atlantic City once. I took the VCR tapes of The Godfather, and with my reverse cassette tape, I taped the 3 hours of the movie, and we listened to it in the car, going and coming. That's how sick we were. I took Bobby to Spartans, where on Grand Avenue was where Billy Batts had his face kicked in. And I swear, Bobby put his hand on the bar like Vishnu was there 190 million years ago. If you took, you know why I want to go to Rome? You know why I want to go? To see the Pope doing this? I could give a shit less. I can go on YouTube and see that. No, I want to go see where Michael Corleone screamed when his daughter got shot in front of that opera house, because I want to get on my knees and start taking pictures. I want to YouTube it. That's the stuff I care about. Do you know what I did? I found out where Vito Corleone's supposed grave was over here at the cemetery. And I brought a chair. I'll give you a better one. For those of you who have watched The Godfather, my best friend in the world, I know him 300 years. Bob's father dies. Now, Bob's also a Godfather nut. I sit there in the front row with him while the priest is talking. I went like this. I swear to you, I went like this. Do you know they're going to come at you? He busted out laughing, and everyone looked at us. I said that. Do you know they're going to come at you? Like they did in The Godfather. I'm walking through his house. God damn it, if I had a wartime concierge, I wouldn't be in this shape. Papa Jenko, look what I got. His mother's staring at me like I'm nuts. That's what we are. We are who we are. We don't apologize. Unless we do something really screwed up. But then again, we usually don't know that we're doing something really screwed up. The pizzeria? What's that, Mitch? What pizzeria? L&B? Yeah, L&B was a an old haunt of mine. I knew the owner when I was young. We used to go to John's Deli. I showed him around a bit, Mitch, and that neighborhood's changed now. You wouldn't know it. Although where I used to live, the same Carvel is there, and where my grandmother lived, the same Harold's Pharmacy. They never changed the sign. I remember that 55 years ago. That sign was the same sign. Uh, Joe's Vasted place on Avenue U. And it's funny when you're going down the streets. Oh, that's where that social club was. That's where I lost my first $50 parlay. That's what. Right? You never look. Oh, there's a library that grandma brought me for my 5th grade book report. Yeah, you don't say that. Because who gives a shit about that? I care about Don Corleone. And it's sacrilege not to like Frank Sinatra or Dean Martin. In fact, you might get whacked for that if you say that out loud in Bensonhurst. I don't know about now because, they might not understand what you're saying. But back then, you'd have to say it in Asian. But back then, Frank was like Al. How many actors do you know where if you say, who's your favorite actor? Oh, Al. It's not Al Horowitz. I mean Al Pacino. Right? Who else is it going to be? Well, back then, who was the best? Oh, Frank. You know who Frank was? It wasn't Frank Stallone. It was Frank, chairman of the board. I wanted to be the chairman of the broad. But you know what I mean. I hope you do. You had to love Dean Martin. First of all, if you're Italian, it's kind of like driving in a Maserati and not thinking it's a nice car. It's not happening. You can't be Italian and not like Frank Sinatra. It's like in the DNA. It's like in your DNA. Like certain dogs are hunters from 10,000. Well, it's in your DNA. You like Frank Sinatra. And Dean Martin, not quite as much, but yeah. And that's my second uncle, Mike. I don't know what that would be. First remove. They changed all the names. It used to be a global warming. Now it's something else. The second uncle, 2 removed. This one, I don't know what they call it. That's amore. I, from a young age, heard Sinatra and Dean Martin and loved it. In March 24, you crossed the sea from Israel to see the Pope. Really, DJ? You've left me speechless. I don't know what to say to that. I did go to Israel. I went to Israel twice. I went with a girlfriend, and I went to a kibbutz in 1977. My friend Paul bombed the Russian violinist at Carnegie Hall with a red paintball. My friend Paul was hanging out with the JDL at the time. He was like 17. They're probably trying to recruit him. His parents thought it would be good if he went on a kibbutz in Israel to visit a family member. I got nominated to go. I went to Eilat. Eilat was like Miami Beach. I had my acoustic guitar out playing in Eilat. That was the second time when I went with the girlfriend a few years later. But I went to Eilat, Tel Aviv. It was Jerusalem. It was incredible. Eilat was like Miami. Gorgeous. But the kibbutz, everyone had a job. I said, I'm a guest. I'm not even Jewish. You're giving me a job to do? I didn't even know how to spell kibbutz correctly. But I had to do something. My job was collecting the cups, little wooden cups. I handled that, and I did a good job. No cups were missing, and they were all clean in the morning. The Sistine Chapel, really? Imagine having to fucking. I can't draw with my eyes closed. Can you imagine standing practically on your head painting? Michelangelo. You're a talented dude, that guy. Oh, see, DJ, you did things I wish I would do. I would do that after screaming on the steps of the theater with like Michael Corleone. That comes first. If the Pope offered to knight me, I don't think there's such a thing. I'd say, just let me go see Michael Corleone's place. You know. Yes, Mitch and I and a few other people, we went to where there was Woodstock, Yazga's farm, which was interesting. That was an interesting place. They showed us where the helicopters landed and all that. It was really interesting, Mitch. That was a good trip. We had a good time there. DJ, I appreciate it. And they're not stories, they're true. But I'll tell you, the kibbutz was interesting. It was interesting. They thought it would make Paul embrace his heritage more. So that's smart. Send him where you got the JDL coming out of, and send them where people have been bombed for years and they really want to protect themselves. That's a good way to get violence out of his mind, isn't it? But it was amazing. And I have to tell you something, too. Some of the girls were beautiful in Eilat. I mean, the Israeli girls, stunning. Now, a lot of the when I went the second time, they're like Italian guys. They just have a Star of David instead of a cross. The Israeli guys are like the Cousins, arrogant and all that. Gee, take care. Happy Palm Sunday. John Travolta. Yeah, where John Travolta got pizza. I should. Yeah, that was Lenny's. It's open no more. They closed it a few years ago. The old man died, and it was just too much work for the daughter. And who's she kidding? You know what she probably got for that building? The funniest thing with Lenny's Pizzeria was they had a fire like 25, 30 years ago. The only thing that survived the fire was the picture, the signed picture that was on the wall of John Travolta and the owner. Isn't that incredible? And when they put the place back up 3 months ago, that picture was there. Isn't that lucky? The Israeli girls are stunning. They are beautiful. Yes, they really are. They truly are. Listen, Israel is a very, very storied land, obviously, and it's beautiful land. It's all I like old architecture. I love. I've never been to Rome or Greek, the Colosseum in Rome, or just it's amazing to think that a million years ago there were chariot races in there. It's just incredible to think that you know Julius Caesar might have been playing pinochle in the corner. It's incredible to me, all this history. That's why I have to go to the opera house and scream, ah! I got to do it. You know, it's interesting. My friend Eddie Schubert, shout out to Eddie. I just doxed him, but you don't know how to spell it. I never spelled his name right. I know him 35 years. He's going to Rome with some family members and a couple of friends. He asked me to come. He's going in August. And you know what? I was actually thinking about it. I would have gone for a week. I have my passport and everything. But you know what I'm going to do instead with him? He's a big, big Beatle fan. We're going to go to Liverpool, maybe in October. And we're going to go, we're going to fly out and we're going to go. He's a tremendous Beatle fan like myself. We're going to go to Liverpool. And we're probably going to do that probably in October. I told you I like Christmas season. Harrods is amazing. Harrods, that's in London. It's about 200 miles south. Liverpool's north. It's on the Mersey River. Just I can't wait to go and just sit in the house where Paul McCartney wrote yesterday. Just if the walls could talk, they'd sing yesterday. But just incredible, incredible. Penny Lane. There is a bar showing photographs. Yeah, Penny Lane. Now, John really lived near Penny Lane, not Paul. Paul was talking about going to visit John when he was younger. Paul never lived near Penny Lane. John did. But that is just amazing. Just incredible. You have to really be into the Beatles, though. But it's amazing, and they really did have nurses selling poppies and all that stuff. Um, I just think that there was so much to do in London because I was there. It's amazing, and I always wanted to go there. Yes, Lee. Bioletti's is the barber shop in Penny Lane. It's still there. I think the son or the grandson has it now, but Bioletti's was the place, and John and Paul did have their haircut there, and they, pictures of the heads. Those are the haircuts. The heads are the haircuts he's talking about. You can see the hairstyles, and very, very interesting. Very interesting. London's wonderful. I love I love London. When I first went there for a job interview for Ingersoll Rand, I met this girl Cindy, and I had the interview the next day, and I had pizza there, and I was so embarrassed. I thought I was dying. I was laying in the bathtub, and I had pain. Oh no, no, I'm sorry, I wasn't. I had pain. I called Cindy, and I said, I think I have to go to the hospital. And she said, why? I said, I think I burst an appendix or something. She said, why? I said, because I'm ready to pass out. I'm in so much pain. I'm just not crying because, you're cute and I don't want to embarrass myself. Her mother gets on the phone with me. Hi, sweetheart. Did you drink water or whatever? What did you do? I had pizza. Oh, it's gas. Thanks. Go lay in a hot tub. Submerge yourself. And I'm thinking to yourself, if it's appendix, I'm going to drown and die. But this is before Whitney Houston made it fashionable. So you would have been thinking about me. Fuck the Beverly Hills Hotel. You would have been thinking about the Gloucester. So all right. And it worked. Len Gary. Len Gary. One and one. Is that the song? You and me. Like a baby. Is that it? Len Gary? I think that's a song, right? He did. Yeah, he was good, Len Gary. I'm going to show you something I'm working on. I'll show you. I'm working on this song. I have the beginning intro. I'll show you. I can't get it going. something like that. I'm trying to get it going. Oh, okay, the Quarrymen. Okay, I thought it was. Who am I thinking of? One and one is three. You know that song? Like a baby. I forget that song. Oh, he was. Okay. Yeah, well, they're all in their 80s now, Reed. Everybody's getting old. It's crazy. Um, but England, man, I tell you that when I was engaged to a British chick, and I learned a lot about Britain from her. And it's just it's a very, very interesting place. I don't know now, it's changed a lot, but very regal, you know? Like I could see a criminal. I'm going to shoot you now. You want tea first? That kind of thing. But it was amazing. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But yeah, everyone's dying off now, Reed. Everyone. I'm afraid that it's going to be Elton or Billy. I'm not saying tonight, but you know, they're older now. Don't be surprised to wake up one of these days and hear the Bruce Willis. You know, it's not good when you have a disease that your brain forgets you to tell you to breathe. That don't work out so well. But yeah, we're getting older. Like I said, when the front men that took over for the front man is dying now, you're old, but the band is old. Look, Keith had to quit touring because he has terrible arthritis. And maybe the doctor said, got to stop. It's very, very rough because, it's grueling up there on stage. You don't think so? I've done it. It is very grueling being on stage. It's like dog years. If I performed a 2-hour gig, it's like you being out 15 hours. And kind of like, I'm dead tired. Dead tired. And I was 24 touring, 23, 24. Tired. And now, forget about it. I watch a movie of someone touring and say, fuck, man, I got to put this on pause for 10 minutes and calm down. Too much. You don't realize how young you are when you're young. You only realize how old you are when you're old. I'll say it again. You don't realize how young you are when you're young. But when you're old, you realize how old you are. Keith had enough because he just can't do it anymore. He's probably in pain also. I'm sure he's in pain. You can't have arthritis like that. I have arthritis a bit in the thumb from doing the bar chords. And this right here, you could actually see it a little. See it? A little bit of a lump. That was from holding the fret and doing the bar chords. I feel it now when I play. But this Palm Sunday, which I don't have one palm. Remember when you had the old lady next door to you? Because your mother never did a goddamn thing. When the old lady made beautiful palms and you put them in your car in the rearview mirror. Remember that? Getting palms on Palm Sunday was like getting hand sanitizer during the pandemic. It was people, oh my God, you see them like walking out like, what, swing low, sweet chariot. They're running out with freaking pounds of palms on them. They're making something this big. They have to get it. Like anything that's free, you got to take. But palm, you need palm. People that don't even know how to do anything with it, take it. We'll do something with it. I don't know. Maybe I'll fan you with it in August. Yeah, they do something with it. Oh, rock. Yeah. Laying carpets You have to hit that thing with your knee. I know a couple of people that laid carpets, and one, I don't know whatever happened to the other one, had a knee replacement. He was like 20. No, I'm kidding. He was probably 50. He had a knee replacement. He said it's from always hitting that thing in the corner that stretches the carpet. Yeah. I'd have arthritis from watching you do it. Just from going like that. I'd use my back so much I'd have an arthritic crick in it. Yeah. It's amazing when you work, the things that happen to your body. But I'll tell you, when you get older, the holidays don't quite feel like the holidays. They they feel like it's the last chance for you to say hi to people that may not be here next holiday. So you never said that when you were 20, right? Right? 15 years from now, we're meeting here at midnight. You can't say that now to anybody at our age. Can you say that to anybody our age? No. You be wishful thinking, but you can't. Oh, really? I had the meniscus done in when did I have it done? 1991. I had it done. You know how I knew? Well, first of all, I had a layout, total layout, high school. I 6 hour no, like 4.5 hour operation back then. I blew out the ACL, the bursa sac, the MCL in a baseball accident playing high school ball. I was sitting pretzel legged. The first apartment I had, I was sitting pretzel legged, and all of a sudden I couldn't get up. My knee was locked. Ended up going to the doctor and the MRI, whatever, and they repaired it. But it was in the same knee that I had the major overhaul in 15 years prior, 14, whatever it was, 13 years prior. Yeah, meniscus because your knee will buckle and it'll lock on you because the cartilage gets stuck in the joint. So I hope you all had a wonderful Palm Sunday. I truly do. And if you don't celebrate Palm Sunday, I hope you had a wonderful Sunday. You don't have to put palm in front of it to enjoy it. I hope you had a good day. Oh, okay, Rock. Maybe you could have the gel injections. They do that. That might help. It's like sympathy pain. I'm rubbing my shoulder now because you're mentioning surgery. But yeah, try not to. Obviously, it's just sometimes we're in so much pain, we don't have much of a chance to not do it. Oh, my sugar's good. Look at that. So, thank you for coming in. I really do appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your Sunday, and just remember Paul McCartney's new song that came out. You're welcome, Reed. Thank you. It actually sounds pretty strong, the song. God bless him for what he's doing at his age. He still has something to say. And he's saying it. And people like us want to hear it. Thank you, Mitch. So, everyone, I love it too. Reed, I think it's terrific. I really do. And I think he found the right meter, the right key, the right voice for it. It sounds like it could have been on Chaos and Creation, that album. Everyone, have a wonderful, wonderful night. And happy Sunday to you all.